Okay, yesterday we stopped at HK. Proceed. Yeah. Change. Okay. So there are 4 types of decision before this. Proceed with changes, proceed without changes, proceed with changes, on hold, get more information, and then cancel. Then we go into project life cycle. Confused with this section with the earlier slides, life cycle. This is life cycles, life cycle phases of projects. And don't confuse with this one. Don't confuse with this. Okay, don't confuse with these slides. This embryo, acceptance, growth phase, and maturity. Don't confuse this table with today's lecture. So life cycles of a system. Life cycle of a system applied to a project have 5. Also have 5 phrases. Don't confuse with the slides that show you. You have concept, planning, testing, implement, and close. Okay, so these 5 also part of a very important part for chapter 2, where we talk about growth of the project management. So on the conception means you do early evaluation. This one can also apply to FYP 1 or FYP 2. You start with the concept, you start with the evaluation, you go to get some information, right? So you do some early analysis, right? Early analysis. So some of your FYP 1, you need to generate preliminary evaluation for your projects. So what you do for project management, in your evaluation, you check time, cost, and quality, or performance requirement, and the company resources. Okay, so this one analysis, you check time, cost, performance, and the resources you have. Right. So this one, it include the first cut of the feasible effort. What I mean by first cut? First cut means sometimes when you do preliminary evaluation, you know what resources you have, because sometimes some machine you cannot do, right? Without a certain machine, your company cannot take up the projects. So first cut here means before you go into the bidding, you already know your company cannot do. Right? And some budget or some cost, your company or your financial department warn you already cannot over a certain budget. So there are something inside preliminary evaluation will help you to decide whether to go on, proceed, or cancel, or not go for the bidding. Okay. Next, we go to the planning. So planning, all this you read. Planning means you improve the earlier conceptual process. Right? You research more, get more information. You do refinement. Right? So it means you confirm your time, cost, performance parameter. Next, you go to the rest. You read this one. Okay. So this one, most project, you have 2 components. The cost can be 2, operating and implementation cost. So this one, y-axis is cost, this is time. So this big curve here is implementation cost. Then this one is the operating cost. Okay, operating cost. So implementation cost, why this curve start from here and not here? Because sometimes, let's say you want to build a factory or build a factory operation, normally you will start the building first, right? Start the building, you subcontract it out, wait until the factory floor, everything was done, then only you put inside the equipment. You buy equipment and all this. So you need a certain time, only you can have the operating cost. Okay, so these are the two courses in the projects: implementation and operating, right? Okay, so this one, if you go up and go down, so if you have reduced cost, if you have reduced cost of this one, if you're able to reduce cost, means the line here can go down by improve your learning curve lah. Means you have more better facilities, better expert, then this one will give you some saving over here. Right? Okay, this one you read lah. It's one time. Implementation cost is one time expenses, hardware, all these things. Operating costs more on the HR, more on the operator. You hire some people, all these. Okay. Then another chart to explain on the management is the cost and value of the information, and then the time. So this graph was used for cost benefit analysis. So what you need is that you need the cost and value. So you have two line on this curve. This is cost benefit analysis. You need two information or two parameter to discuss with your PMO, project management office team. So this is the first line here is estimate value of the information, and the second line is the cost of obtaining information. Right. So this line is cost of obtaining. This one is estimate value. So we want to stay within here. We want to stay within here. Is a benefit position. Means your value more than your cost. Here, this region is your value more than the cost. It's like you take yourself as a buyer and seller. You buy low and sell high, you make profit. Okay, testing. So this one, as an engineering student, you know what is testing lah. So it means you verify through some, for example, if you're launching a food product, you will do some market survey, food testing and all this. Then you make sure all the documentation is done, like food safety, you meeting all the regulation. If you're producing the snacks and all this, then you need to make sure that you are having all the food regulation. For example, in Malaysia, you want to sell snacks, penetrate market, you must have the halal symbol and all this. So make sure you have all the documentation during the testings, and you pass all the halal regulation and all this. Right? You implement means you start to launch already, integrate the projects, right? This one you read lah. Then you close. After you have launched a project, everything runs successful, start making money, then stable already, then you can close out. You can close out, hand over to other people. Right? So closer means reallocation of resources. Okay, so this one, for example, this is another graph. This is a stream of projects, revenue and time. So you have a few projects, project A, project B, project C running at the same time in your company. So project B start making revenue. Revenue means you start to, let's say, revenue is not profit. Revenue is money that come into your pocket. Like for example, you selling ice cream, right? So ice cream you sell like maybe 5 ringgit per ice cream. So let's say that day you sell 10 ice cream. So 50 ringgit masuk your pocket means the revenue is 50 ringgit. It's not profit. It is the money that come into the thing. So this one revenue come in and then it will drop after a certain time. So the profit A also will start to drop, and then profit C make a maximum, and then revenue will come down. Right. So then in a company, they look at the total revenue, total money come in into the company. So as a project manager, you should aware the cash flow of the company. Always stay with above your projects, right? Because you need all the costs and all this. So make sure the total revenue line is above your cost. Although cost line is not inside this here, but make sure that the line is above the cost. For the rest of it. So as you can see here, it just elaborate. So as these two projects start to go down, the owner of the company must start to think how to bring the revenue up by starting a new projects. By go and get new projects so that you can catch up the peak again. Right? So example is that that's why you see the automotive industry nowadays, like every 2 years or every 3 years, they launch a new models. Right? More drastic or extreme example is handphone. For the past 10 years, Apple phone have been launched like almost every year, new model coming, right? And those like, for example, if you're in computer, you're in the gaming industry, the graphic card also is chasing up like almost every year they will have a new graphic card come out, right? And so on. Okay, so this one you read. Okay, so again, life cycle definition is different from one industry to another one. So this is a general 5 life cycle phrases: concept, planning, testing, implementation, closer. But it can be renamed or add in more process inside the life cycle. For example, engineering, you have startup, definition, main, termination. Manufacturing, you have a few. Computer, a few. Construction, you have a few. Right? So when you do your projects later, you use this 5 points to elaborate what are the life cycle phrases for the new products. Okay. So what you do in the conception, what you do in planning, what you do in testing, what you do in implementation, and then how you close the projects. Okay, so we have done with the product cycle, life cycle. We go into system thinking. System thinking, the keyword here is thinking, is like how you make decision, how you think as a project manager, or how you think as a business owner, right? So this is about decision making. So there's a certain way of doing decision. The rest you read, So this one, system approach, we have a few definition or a few wording here. So means system approach, you use relationship to find the relationship between the parameter, right? Then you integrate all the activities. Then you find the optimum solution. Okay, so a system approach, you have these 4 points. First, you look at the relationship. Then you integrate all the activities into the total system. For example, you assembly a car. So you look at the car, how car works. Then the second part is that you start to look at the wheels, the brakes, and all this. You integrate everything into one component called car. Then you assembly, you match the part into a unified whole. So you start to assembly it. Then you seek optimal solution. When you assembly a car, they should have a problem. For example, you assembly a EV car, an electric car. So sure, they have a problem on the battery and sensing and all the energy regulator and all this. So at the end, you start to improving the things. Okay, so I'll give you all. So there are phrases of development, problem solving. This is a under system thinking. There's a phrases of development. So you have translation, analysis, trade-off, and synthesis. So if you have translation, means you make sure that everyone in the team understand what we are solving now, or what we are doing now. Translation is more getting everyone in the same page, all participants. Analysis means you do calculation, you look at alternative of the problems, right? A solution for the problems. Trade-off means some trade-off means you take away the constraint, right? So trade-offs, if you're in construction, means sometimes you have a blacklist of a certain subcontractor. So you go to this list and then try to take away all this stuff. Because some projects you already blacklist some of the companies that you don't want to go into. So this is a trade-off. Or okay, synthesis means you join everything, then get the best solution. So these are the terms. All these terms you read, all these terms is like a dictionary. So when you write report or you answer questions, sometimes the question will use all these things to ask you, relate you to the system thinking. But they are self-explanatory. It's just a textbook definition. Okay. So this chart come out in the last semester final exam also. He asks the student to explain system approach using diagram. You draw this one, you get 15 marks. Half question, you score already. You draw this one with all the components together, right? This is called system approach diagram. It consists of, means it's explain everything with one diagram. You have 4 phrases just now: translation, analysis, trade-off, synthesis. So you use your ruler, draw a few lines. First region is translation, second is analysis, third one is trade-off, the last one is synthesis. Okay. So once you draw the area, then you start to put inside information. So what you do during translation, you define your objective. Means you tell your team what actually we are doing, what project we are doing, or what are the customers' requirements. Okay, or what are the time, means the time, cost, quality, and customer requirement, or what equipment you need to use. So objective you tell already, then you do analysis. Okay, all these are requirement. Requirement 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, it can be go to 5, 6. You can draw 3 here. You can draw 2 here. Never mind. As long as under analysis, first one, after objective, you go to requirement. Okay. Then after requirement, you sort for analysis. After you know the requirement, you go for alternative, means solution. You give solution. So requirement, then you go to alternative. So each requirement you break into 2. Cannot be one. One is not good enough. Because you always need to have backup plan B, C, D, and so on. So after requirement, you split into 2. You write alternative. Okay. So here you don't need to copy like on the screen here. You can write. You can even give 2. Then you split into another 2. Okay. Then after requirement, you do after analysis, you do trade-off. So here you do trade-off. So what you don't want to look at, or what can you ignore. So this is a trade-off process. Then you go to the synthesis. Synthesis is that you assembly into a one system. Okay. Then the rest you read on the top here, there's a constraint. So objective here, you have a few constraints. Legislative means law and regulation, or some procedure you need to follow. Financial means cost. Timing means time. Policy, some policy you need to look at. Then selection criteria here. Selection criteria, you need to fit inside the trade-off. For example, performance, cost, time, policy. Yeah, still the same: time, cost, quality, and customer requirement. Okay, put inside here. So this whole thing explain what is system thinking. System thinking means the way of thinking. They will go through 4 process or 4 phases: translation, analysis, trade-off, and synthesis. The rest you read, there's an explanation on the slides there. Okay. Then remember the arrowhead also. The arrowhead, add in the arrowhead. So there's a look back from the system, look back to the objective. So when you look back, it's called closed loop. It's called a closed loop. So for your FYP1, when you come to your methodology chapter, please draw a flowchart in a closed loop method. So yours one maybe you need to rotate 180 from here, right? But make sure it's a closed loop feedback. Okay, so analysis can arrange in a certain steps. So this one you read There's a certain steps in analysis steps here. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is help you to elaborate what happened in the analysis. Okay, so we are done with the system thinking and we come to the end of chapter 2. So just a recap of what we learned. So captured question 1, a structured process for managing a multitude projects is mostly commonly referred as what? What do you think? What do you think? Right. Okay, so you try to guess which one. Of course, not C. Very obvious, it's not C. A structured process. What I mean by structured process? Which one is near to the meaning of structured process? D or B? It's a methodology. Methodology means process, method you use. Okay. Guidelines, normally they are linked to guidelines. Guidelines normally is linked to the you rarely use guideline in the project management. Okay. Policy, yes. Okay. Number 2, most common terminology for reusable project management methodology is, this one is not inside my slides. Reusable is called template. Template means that template is like you just follow the way people doing. So it can be a checklist. Template can be a checklist, right? So number 3, major behavioral issue to get an organization to accept and use a project management methodology effectively is what? Major behavior issue in getting is what? Sponsorship, boss reporting, multiple, inadequate procedure, limited application. What do you think? Which answer you guess? Guess lah. Which one? Which one? Sponsorship? Policy? Huh? What do you think? C. C. A. Okay. Multiple boss reporting is a behavioral issue because why? They are the one who decide. They can decide whether want to use your management methodology or not. Okay. Sponsorship. Sponsor, their main role is what? The main role is to give you money and to tell you whether you proceed or cancel the projects. Okay. So, okay, this one. Major difference between a project and program. This one also there's a slide about the program, the three P definition, project, program, and one more. I forget what is this. This one. There's definition for project, programs, and one more. So major difference between project and program usually is the time frame. Okay. So this one, you look back at the previous slides, there is a slides tell you the definition for project, program. There's one more, I forget. There's a 3P definition there. Okay. Projects that remain mostly if entirely within one functional area are best managed by who? Project manager, project sponsor, functional manager, assigned functional employees. Project that remain mostly entirely within one functional area. Just now I did explain the role of sponsor, so of course not sponsor. What does the project manager role? What is the main task? If you're assigned as a project manager, what's your role? What's your role? Make sure the project success. You communicate, right? So it's a functional manager. Functional manager, here it tell you already, project remain entirely on one functional area. Means you go and find functional manager. So means if your company rely on sales and marketing, so go and find a sales and marketing manager. You don't go and find engineering or product development engineer. You go and find exactly the person. Large projects are managed by who? By who? See? Who does the project manager report to? I show you the organization chart before. Where does the project manager sit? There's no position called manager or project manager. Okay. Because this is large project. Large project means the project very big, is very complex. So you need an office to a team. Office here means a team to help you to run the things. Okay. Okay, number 7, most common threshold. Threshold means constraint. Most common constraint or threshold limit on when to use the project management methodology are most common threshold limits is what? That's a project duration. Okay. So the dollar signs tell you already. Time duration. Of course, the first one also very near to the answer, but it gives you the size of the project and duration will tell you the which project management methodology to use. A group of project is called program. Okay. Okay. The most difficult decision for executive sponsor to make at the end phase review meeting is what? So these are the four types of decision that are always repeating and repeating. Is D. The hardest is because when it comes to end of phase, by the end already, then it's very difficult to cancel because you already give up the money investment already, right? Having too many life cycle phrases may be detrimental because because you need more decision point. Okay, 14. A project is terminated early because of technology cannot be developed and resources are applied to another projects that end up being successful. Which of the following is true concerning the first projects? Is it a first project, is it a success or failure? Okay, so there are a few sections here. The answer is B. First success is success if the termination is done early enough before additional resources is granted. So it can become a success. The definition of success also can be when you terminate it early to for further damage of the companies or financial damage. Right. Which of the following would not be regarded as a secondary definition of project success? So there are two project success. One is from the perspective of customer, which is the primary factor, right? So which one is not regarded as a secondary? Secondary means something happened inside the company. So which one? Okay, the answer is B. Why? 15 is a bit tricky on the wording. If you read carefully, it actually asks you which one is success, which one will not regard as success, as secondary. So secondary, this one, so the first one, customer unhappy with the deliverable, but follow-on business is awarded. Means you get the next incoming business or project. Means also success. Means customer actually give you chance, right? So this one deliverable are met, but OSHA and EPA, they are internal process. If you are violated, means you are failed for secondary definition. Okay. So with this, we conclude chapter 2. We go into chapter 3. Okay. Lim Wei Kang, you are here? Please sign your attendance.